The Galactic Council was in session. Representatives from 50 alien races sat in a grand circular chamber, high above the glowing city of Syraxis Prime. It was peaceful. The galaxy had not seen a major war in over 200 years. Most species believed that peace would last forever. Council leader Varnek, a tall and wise being from the Sorari species, stood in the center. He was speaking about trade routes when suddenly a warning alarm echoed through the chamber. "Unidentified ship detected near the outer defense line," said a robotic voice. All eyes turned to the main screen. A single ship had appeared at the edge of the protected zone, Sector 9. It was small. It didn't match any known ship designs. And worse, it wasn't responding to any hails. "Which species does it belong to?" Varnek asked calmly. There was silence. Then a young officer, clearly afraid, answered, It's human, sir." The chamber froze. Humans? That couldn't be right. Everyone knew that humans had disappeared 5 centuries ago. After the Great Human War, the Council had banned all human activity in known space. Their last planet had gone, silent, and for 500 years no one had seen them. "It must be a mistake," one ambassador said. "Humans are extinct." But the ship didn't disappear. It just stayed there, floating silently near the border. It didn't send a message. It didn't scan the area. It just waited. Within hours, panic started to grow. News spread quickly. Ships near Sector 9 pulled back. Civilians on nearby planets began to evacuate. No one knew what the ship wanted. The Council ordered a patrol fleet to intercept the unknown vessel. 10 powerful ships moved out to meet the human ship. They hailed it again and again. Still, no answer. Fleet Commander Durak, a battle-hardened warrior from the Brovak species, sent one last warning. "This is your final chance. Identify yourself or be destroyed." The human ship remained silent. Durak gave the command. "Prepare weapons, fire in 10 seconds if no response." 9, 8, 7. Just as the countdown reached 3, the human ship lit up. Not with lights, but with energy, glowing red from the center. Then it fired. One beam, just one. But it was enough. The lead Council ship exploded instantly. The shockwave knocked out 2 more. The rest of the fleet scattered in fear, some fleeing without even returning fire. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Shouts, alarms, emergency lights. Varnek tried to calm the room. "How can one ship do that?" Someone screamed. "It was human technology," another cried. "They've returned." More messages arrived. Durak's fleet was gone, completely destroyed in under 30 seconds. 1 ship, 1 attack, total loss. People started to realize the truth. The humans hadn't died. They had vanished. And now, they were back. But why? No one knew. The human ship didn't leave. It just stayed there, still silent, like it was waiting. For what? Some said it was only a scout, others believed it was a warning. But one thing was clear: the age of peace was over. The galaxy had just been shaken awake by a ghost from the past, and the nightmare was only beginning. The stars above Sector 9 were quiet again, but no one felt safe. The strange human ship had not moved since its first action. It just floated in space, calm and silent, like it was watching. Inside the Council's war room, panic had turned into confusion. High-ranking leaders, scientists, and military officers argued with each other. Some believed it was a mistake to send ships. Others said the Council had no choice. Council leader Varnek sat still. His mind was filled with questions. "What does this ship want?" he asked out loud. "Why appear now, after all these years?" No one had answers. Back at the edge of Council space, rescue ships searched for survivors. Only pieces of the patrol. Fleet remained, broken parts drifting in space, no escape pods, no signals, nothing. The human ship had returned to silence. This behavior confused the Council even more. If it was dangerous, why didn't it move forward? Why didn't it approach the inner systems? Why did it just wait? The Council ordered more. Scans. Still, the ship gave nothing away. No energy spikes, no signals, no changes in course. They brought in historians. One old scholar, a Varelian named Sotha, spoke softly. I read of this pattern before, she said. In old human records. They wait, they study, they test, then they act. The room grew cold. No one wanted to believe it, but the thought was there. This ship might not be alone. Across the galaxy, people started preparing. Shops closed. Ships left for far-off colonies. Governments began setting up emergency shelters. Some tried to calm their citizens, saying it was only one ship. Others quietly readied their defense systems. In a small mining colony near the border, a child pointed at the night sky and asked her father, "What's that star that's not moving?" He looked and paused. "That's not a star," he whispered. "That's the human ship." Many across the galaxy felt the same fear. This one ship, by doing so little, had already changed everything. Back in the council chamber, a decision had to be made. Should they try again to contact the ship? Should they send another group to speak peacefully, or should they wait? Varnick called for a message to be sent, one that showed respect. "We welcome peaceful contact," the message said. "We wish to understand." The message was sent. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 6. No reply. But the ship changed. Its lights shifted to blue, then green, then back to red. Scientists argued over the meaning. Was it a message? A warning? A test? At that moment, a new alert rang out. A second signal had appeared in a nearby system. It was another human ship. Smaller, but clearly the same design. And it was moving. The council stared at the map. 2 ships now, one still, one moving slowly toward a nearby station. Was this the start of something greater? Or was this just a sign? The people watching didn't know it yet, but the galaxy had already crossed a line. Old fears had returned, and something ancient had awakened. The human ships were not attacking. They were not speaking. But their silence said more than words ever could. A quiet message had been delivered. We're still here, and we haven't forgotten. The second human ship moved at a slow pace, almost like it didn't want to be noticed. But the galaxy was already watching. Every eye, every satellite, every long-range sensor was now focused on that silent traveler. Unlike the first ship, which had waited without moving, this one had purpose. It followed a direct path toward a research station located on a quiet moon called Tava 3. The station was small, run by scientists from 5 different alien races. It was known for studying deep space signals and ancient ruins. As soon as the station saw the human ship on its scanners, they reported to the council. Within hours, the station received a signal. It wasn't words, it wasn't a known language, it was a pattern, a sequence of lights. Long, short, pause, repeat. At first, the scientists were confused, but then one of them, a quiet thinker named Jiro, spoke up. "It looks like a memory code, something old," he said. The team compared it to ancient human transmissions from centuries ago. After much study, they found something strange. The pattern wasn't a warning, it was a request to open a data link. The council hesitated. What would happen if they accepted? But curiosity won. The station opened a secure channel, and suddenly their screens filled with old human records. Pages and pages of history, maps, messages, names. But it wasn't current data. It was all from the past. The information stopped after a few minutes. The human ship waited. The scientists were puzzled. Why send history? Why not speak directly? Then, Jiro had a thought. Maybe they're showing us what they remember, he said. Or what we forgot. In the council chamber, many leaders sat in silence as the human records were reviewed. What they found was uncomfortable. Stories of human exploration. Agreements made long ago with early council members. Times when humans had shared knowledge, technology, even protection. And then, the part everyone wished to ignore. The Council's decision to block humans, to erase their role in building parts of the Galactic network, to remove their names from the history books. All because they were too unpredictable. Now the truth was returning, and it was coming from the source. The second human ship arrived near the station but didn't get close. It stayed in orbit, peaceful, still. Then, something even stranger happened. The ship released a small object. It was shaped like a sphere glowing softly. The scientists captured it and brought it inside. It wasn't a weapon, it was a memory pod. When they connected it, a soft voice filled the room. It spoke slowly, calmly, in a simple old language. We remember. The voice paused. We watched. We waited. Not for revenge, for understanding. The scientists looked at one another. This wasn't the message they expected. The voice continued. You forgot us, but we never forgot you. We are not here to take. We are here to remind. Then the pod shut off. Back on the Council homeworld, Varnek sat alone, replaying the message over and over. The voice was not angry. It was steady, almost kind. He asked himself something he hadn't asked before. Had the galaxy made a mistake? He sent for a meeting with all senior leaders. We must prepare, he said. Not for conflict, but for a question. What if we were wrong? The room fell silent. Outside the window, stars glowed peacefully. But for the first time in centuries, the Council felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. Not fear, responsibility. Across the galaxy, people talked about the message, about the pod, about the ships, about the truth. One child on a teaching ship asked her mentor, "Why did we forget the humans?" The mentor didn't answer, because no one really knew. But now the humans had returned, not with destruction but with memories, and memories were powerful. A quiet wave spread across the galaxy. News of the memory pod and the message it carried traveled faster than any ship. People everywhere, scientists, travelers, farmers, and students talked about it. We remember, the voice had said. Some were moved by the calmness. Others felt uneasy, but no one ignored it. In the research station on Tava 3, the scientists carefully studied every part of the memory pod. It was unlike anything they had seen in centuries. Smooth, perfect, untouched by time. There were no signs of age or wear. It was as if it had been waiting patiently. The Council called for another emergency meeting. This time the mood was different. No shouting, no fear, only quiet thinking. Council leader Varnek looked tired but focused. This is not just about one ship, he said. This is about a chapter we erased, a people we tried to forget, but they did not forget us. Some members wanted to reach out again. Others suggested silence. No one knew the right move, and then something new happened. A third signal appeared. It wasn't from the first or second ship. It was from somewhere deep in uncharted space, far beyond any Council border. The signal was weak but steady. It followed the same pattern. Long, short, pause, repeat. The scientists confirmed this signal was also human. Now the question grew even larger. How many were there? And what had they been doing all these years? Soon after, the first ship, the one that had floated in silence since the beginning, finally changed course. Very slowly, it began to move. It wasn't heading to a Council world. It was heading to a neutral zone, an old meeting place called Caro 9, a forgotten space station where early races once gathered for peaceful talks. The Council didn't own Caro 9 anymore. No one did. It was left behind long ago. But now the human ship seemed to choose it. No one knew why. The Council decided to send a peaceful team, a group of thinkers, not guards. Their mission: meet the ship at Caro 9, listen, observe, and learn. One of the chosen was a young translator named Elian. He had always been curious about old Earth languages. Now he would be among the first to meet a human after many lifetimes. As the team prepared to leave, people across the galaxy held their breath. Would the humans speak again? Would they answer the questions no one dared ask? A few days later, the council ship arrived at Caro 9. The place was quiet, dusty, but still working. The human ship was already there, parked beside the station. Its lights glowed softly, like it was waiting. Elian stepped onto the station. He felt the air, still breathable, still warm. Suddenly, the main screen inside the station turned on. No sound, no words, just an image. A picture of many beings, different shapes, colors, sizes, standing beside humans, smiling, working together. It was an old image, likely from a forgotten time, but it said more than a speech ever could. Then a new message appeared on the screen. Simple, clear, let us begin again. Let us begin. Elian read the words slowly. He looked at his team. No one spoke, because in that moment they all understood something. The humans were not here to remind the galaxy of its past mistakes. They were here to offer a new start, a chance to rebuild what was once lost. Not with power, but with memory. And for the first time in ages, the galaxy listened. The quiet message displayed on the screen echoed in the minds of everyone who saw it. Let us begin again. It was a simple request, but in the silent vastness of space, it carried the weight of centuries. For days after the message, the galaxy stood still. Governments, citizens, and military leaders sat in waiting, wondering what would come next. The council held discussions in closed rooms, but no one knew the right answer. The human ships had not attacked, had not tried to take anything. Instead, they had offered something unexpected. Peace. Elian and the team aboard the research ship spent hours examining the data from Caro 9. The old image of many species, working together with humans, lingered in their minds. It wasn't just a message. It was a memory of a time long forgotten. A time when different races shared knowledge, cooperation, and respect. Back on the council homeworld, Varnek sat alone in his office, staring out at the stars. He couldn't ignore the message. Let us begin again. What did that mean? Was this really the right moment for the galaxy to reconnect with the humans? He couldn't make the decision alone. He knew that. But the galaxy had to decide soon. The humans were waiting. Patient, steady, and quiet. They hadn't tried to take control or demand anything. They hadn't even made any threats. They simply waited. The silence felt heavier than any weapon. It was a silence that asked questions, that made the galaxy look inward, to examine its past and the choices it had made. After days of uncertainty, the council finally made a decision. A small group of delegates, including Elian, was sent to meet with the human representatives. Their goal was not to negotiate, not to make demands, but to simply listen. To understand. As the council ship moved toward the human fleet, everyone aboard felt the weight of the moment. Elian stood by the view screen, watching the vastness of space. He could see the human ship ahead, still as it had always been, glowing faintly in the darkness. It was not like any ship he had ever seen. Sleek, ancient-looking, yet filled with the kind of technology that made the galaxy pause and wonder. The council ship docked at the human vessel with a soft thud. There was no noise, no hurry. The doors slid open slowly, revealing the inside of the ship. It was different, nothing like the cold metallic walls of the council ships. The walls were warm, alive with glowing lights and strange, intricate designs. The air felt different, almost inviting. Elian and the team stepped forward, their footsteps echoing in the quiet. They were greeted by a human, one who seemed to have no fear, no anger. She looked calm, steady, like she had been waiting for a long time but wasn't in a rush to act. She spoke first, and her voice was soft but clear. "We are not your enemies," she said. "We were once, but not anymore." Her words were simple, but they carried a deeper meaning. She motioned for them to follow her down a corridor that stretched far beyond their sight. The ship was vast, much larger than it appeared on the outside. It was filled with rooms and spaces that were not just for living but for learning, growing, and creating. As they walked, the human woman continued. Years ago, we were part of this galaxy. We built things together. We shared ideas. But over time, we were forgotten, shunned. The stories of our people were erased. Elian listened closely, feeling the weight of her words. He could hear the sorrow in her voice, but there was no anger. Just quiet resolve. "Why did you leave?" Elian asked, his voice steady but curious. "Why now?" The human woman paused, turning to face him. "We never left. We simply waited. We knew that someday the galaxy would realize that we were still here. And we knew that when the time was right, we would return. Not as conquerors, but as teachers. Not to reclaim what was lost, but to remind everyone of what was forgotten." They reached a large room, filled with books, holograms, and strange devices. In the center, there was a table, covered in old maps and star charts, all of them drawn, long before the council's time. "Look," she said, pointing to a star chart. "These are the paths we once shared with you. This is where the history begins." Elian studied the chart, seeing patterns that had never been explained in any galactic records. There were routes, alliances, and ancient places long abandoned. The humans had been more involved than anyone realized, but their story had been hidden, erased, forgotten. The human woman spoke again. "We don't ask for your forgiveness. We don't ask for your acceptance. We ask only for the chance to be remembered, to be seen." For a long time, Elian and the team stood in silence, taking in what they had been shown. They had expected something different, something dangerous, perhaps even something aggressive. But what they saw instead was history, a history that had been left out of the records. The human woman smiled gently. "Now it's your turn. Will you remember us? Will you see what we once built together, or will you turn away and pretend that we never existed?" As Elian looked at the others in the room, he realized that the choice was not just about humans. It was about the entire galaxy. The galaxy's future depended on whether or not they were willing to face their past, to listen to what had been forgotten, and to learn from it. The silence hung heavy in the air, but this time, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was filled with the weight of possibilities. The human ship, though it had no weapons and no visible power, was stronger than any fleet the galaxy had ever seen. It wasn't because of the ship itself, it was because of the truth it carried. The moment of silence stretched on, deeper than the space around them. Elian stood in the quiet room, the weight of the human woman's words hanging in the air. Her eyes, calm but filled with the weight of history, locked with his. For a brief moment, he felt as if the entire galaxy was waiting for his answer. He didn't know what to say. How could anyone answer such a question? The humans had no weapons, no demands. They had come not with threats or anger, but with knowledge. A knowledge lost to the galaxy for centuries. It was a knowledge that could change everything. "We've forgotten," Elian whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The human woman nodded. "Not just you, all of us. Over time, we all forgot what we had once shared. We drifted apart. But now, it's time to remember, to come together again." Her words echoed in Elian's mind. And as he turned to look at the others in the room, he saw the same realization in their eyes. The humans weren't asking for power, wealth, or even control. They were asking for something far simpler, yet infinitely more powerful, to be part of the galaxy once again. And with that, something stirred deep within Elian. It wasn't just the desire to learn, to understand. It was something more, a feeling that this moment was the turning point, the very beginning of a new chapter for the galaxy. For the next few hours, the human woman and her team shared their story in more detail. They showed the council's delegation star maps from ancient times, paths that had been forgotten by most species. They spoke of the alliances that had once existed, partnerships built not on power or war, but on knowledge and shared progress. The galaxy was once a place of harmony, the woman explained. Different races worked together to create new technologies to explore the far reaches of space and to learn from one another. The humans were just one part of that, but we were an important part. We offered something unique. Elian listened, amazed by what he was hearing. It was a history that had never been recorded in any of the galaxy's official records, a history that had been erased, perhaps intentionally, by those who had come after. We were not perfect, the woman continued, but we learned from our mistakes. We tried to create a better future not just for ourselves but for everyone, but we were pushed away. We were seen as a threat, and slowly, we were forgotten. But we never stopped learning. We never stopped watching. Her voice softened, as if she was speaking from a place of deep sorrow. We learned, but we also changed. We became something different over time. We learned to adapt, to survive. And now we return, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as witnesses. We are here to remind the galaxy of what was and to offer what we have become. Elian could feel the power of her words. He wasn't just hearing the story of the humans. He was feeling it. He could sense the pain of being forgotten, the loneliness of watching from afar as the galaxy moved on without acknowledging the past. "What do you want from us?" Elian finally asked, his voice steady but filled with curiosity. "Why come now? Why wait so long?" The human woman smiled gently, as if she had been waiting for this question. "We don't want anything from you," she replied softly. "What we ask is simple, a chance to be remembered, a chance to reconnect. If we can rebuild the bonds we once shared, we can all grow. The galaxy will be stronger. Together, we can remember the lessons of the past and avoid the mistakes we made." Elian felt his heart stir. He had always believed that the galaxy was lost in its divisions, that it was too late to turn things around. But the humans, these beings who had been forgotten, cast aside, had shown him something else. They had shown him hope. As the meeting ended and the delegation prepared to return to the council homeworld, Elian couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was changing, and the humans, silent, patient, but unwavering, were at the heart of it. Back aboard the council ship, the team sat in quiet contemplation. The stars stretched out before them, vast and endless. But this time, Elian didn't feel the same sense of isolation. He felt something different, a connection. "We'll have to tell them," Elian said quietly, his voice filled with resolve. "We have to share this with the galaxy." One of the team members looked at him. "Do you think they'll listen?" "I don't know," Elian replied. "But it's time. The humans have waited long enough. It's time for us to remember what we've forgotten." As the council ship traveled back toward home, a new question emerged, one that would soon be asked by every corner of the galaxy. Could they rebuild what had been lost? And in that silence, as the stars shone down like silent witnesses, the future of the galaxy was no longer in question. It was simply waiting, just as the humans had waited, for the chance to begin again,